Hello everyone, and welcome to my DOL official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kyle's makeout trap went too far. Claire fumes over Audra kissing? According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Kyle Abbott's makeout trap went too far. So would Claire Newman be seething at all of Audra Charles's illicit kissing? Kyle appears arrogant and victorious, yet he still crossed the line with Audra. Of course Kyle wanted to see how far Audra would go, but was it really necessary? Kyle should have pulled back and made his "I'm on to you" speech as Audra leaned in for that first kiss. Instead, Kyle continued playing the game and climbed on top of Audra in bed while just wearing a towel. Audra and Kyle were kissing like crazy. So what if Claire had been there to witness it? You can bet Claire would not have granted Kyle permission. Kyle may believe he has won. But what if he returns home and gloats to Claire about his trap paying off? Claire may not react how Kyle expects, especially given her feelings following Cole Howard's death. Claire may be shocked at how improper the entire situation was after grilling Kyle about it. Kyle is supposed to be committed to Claire, so he shouldn't have kissed Audra for any reason, including proving he was correct about Audra and Victor Newman's plot. Claire may have had a significant problem with Kyle playing games and nice while she remained at home grieving alone. Although Kyle was unaware of Cole's death owing to a lack of mobile service, it will still sting that he was busy with Audra while Claire was in sorrow. Kyle's actions were unpleasant and possibly a huge betrayal of Claire's trust. Kyle didn't tell Claire that he was going to set Audra up for the fall, and then make out with her. YNR supporters are aware that this is Claire's first genuine relationship. Thus things have always felt childish, almost like a high school romance. The fact that Kyle was kissing Audra without permission may still be a big concern for Claire, especially since she is in such an emotionally vulnerable state. Kyle and Audra are passionately kissing on the sofa inside his sleeping automobile. She guides him onto the bed, and they proceed. As he crawls on top of her with his towel, he stops kissing her. "I'm on to you," he says. Audra claims ignorance, but Kyle is confident she can figure it out. She shoos him away, saying she didn't intend to come in at dawn to seduce him. Kyle is convinced that she has planned every step since they arrived in France. Audra claims she was scared and that everything happened spontaneously. He laughs and says she never leaves the house without an agenda. Kyle wondered how far she would go to achieve what she wanted, but he didn't expect her to use Nate's brother's murder to push him into bed. Audra Kyle Y&R. Audra argues that's not what happened, pointing out that Kyle was just as invested as she was. He claims he was faking. Audra maintains insisting that she has not been pretending, and she is disturbed by his notion. The Abbott quips that Amy and Nate would have trouble comprehending how she conveys her pain. She claims to have panicked and turned to him when flustered. Smugly, he claims that was all part of her plan. Audra is outraged that Kyle believes any of this was planned. This is what happens when you lose control of your emotions.
Audra climbs out of bed as he continues to smirk. Kyle wishes she will admit that he beat both her and Victor this time. She claims Victor has nothing to do with it, but he believes the Newman has been pulling her strings. Audra argues that Victor only sees her talents. Her ex is aware of her talents, which are unrelated to cosmetics. When Kyle threatens to tell Nate about this, she says he won't believe him. Kyle Audra Y&R. Kyle is certain that this was all part of a plan she and Victor devised to separate him and Claire. Audra tells him he is a joke. He is certain that Victor is funding Vibrante only for this purpose. Audra throws up her hands and declares that she knows nothing about a strategy. She doubles down on being a successful businesswoman who can make Victor a lot of money. More, the soap is getting its summer story right. Kyle tells Audra that she has failed miserably at everything. Audra thinks it's really pathetic that he had to create an arrangement with Victor to keep seeing his grandchild. Kyle suggests that she continues falling short because she believes people are stupid. She boasts that their plan to wow Kane was successful. Kyle confesses that he was only stringing her along. She accuses him of responding to her with considerable passion, but he claims the kiss was simply to see how far she would go. Kyle says he picked up his pants and discovered she would go all the way. Kyle Audra Y&R. Audra believes Kyle is attempting to persuade her that he was not interested. He zips up and accuses her of being upset that he beat her at her own game. Audra claims that everyone has seen him flirting with her, and the only reason they haven't had sex is that she stopped it. Kyle claims he was only playing a role. It will be a comfort not to have to pretend to appreciate her ridiculous perfume war notion any longer. The biggest mistake was that neither she nor Victor realized how much he adored Claire. The last thing he would want to do is endanger his relationship with her. Showing her the door, he proclaims that he will inform Victor that she has failed again. Billy dumps Jack. Billy is alone outside the maze, pondering things when Jack approaches and inquires about his brother's thoughts on Nick and Kane's feud. Billy is more concerned with Jack accusing him of letting him down again. They reiterate the agreement they made. Billy was supposed to stop pursuing Chancellor and run Abbott Communications. Instead, he's chasing it again and has handed over the new company to Sally. More, Chicago Fire loses another character. Jack declares that no investor would tolerate such a unilateral appointment of a CEO. Billy informs his brother that he will get his money back. Jack is more concerned that his brother has not abandoned his irrational pursuit of Chancellor. Wanting to form a relationship with a probable killer does not inspire confidence. Billy Jack Y&R. Billy reveals he hasn't been able to forget Chancellor, which has something to do with righting Jill and Victor's wrongs against him. He accuses Jack of only being interested about his money and issues an ultimatum: is he in or out? Jack accuses him of having no game plan. Billy repeats his demand louder and louder. Eventually, Jack informs him that Abbott Communications cannot function without him. Billy declares that he is done with their partnership and will find an investor to buy him out. They can try to forget what happened. Billy storms off, leaving Jack shaking his head. Phyllis begs Nick not to run. Sharon and Phyllis are bickering in the club vehicle about whether Kane is responsible for Damien's death. Phyllis is offended that Nick believes she is cold enough to look past murder in order to get a job. Nick returns, and Phyllis feels he has come to apologize to her. He believes she is delusional and claims to have additional evidence that Kane is guilty. Nick reveals that Kane's cameras are everywhere. Not that this is unusual for a billionaire, but all video footage of the murder appears to have been destroyed. He asks Phyllis to clarify. She claims it does not prove anything. Phyllis believes the true culprit wiped the footage, and she points out that there are many allegations and suppositions. Nick feels that Ashby is attempting to frame him for murder. He's irritated that Phyllis just believes what that guy says. He is fed up and wants to trek down the mountain. Phyllis begs him not to do this. Nick accuses her of plotting alongside Kane. Sharon also believes she is going out of her way to back up Kane. Phyllis argues that she is just concerned with Nick's physical well-being. Phyllis Nick Sharon Y&R. Phyllis begs Nick, reminding him that the cops are on their way. They continue to argue about her siding with Kane, and Nick declares his determination to leave the mountain before Kane and his accomplices set him up for anything else. He accuses Phyllis of being on Ashby's payroll. Offended, Phyllis maintains that she believes Kane is innocent. Nick believes she is abandoning their friendship and child for a job. She believes that someone may be attempting to frame him and Kane. More, Y&R's weekly preview video. Nick storms out after finishing his discussion, stating that he needs professionals to look into this. Phyllis turns to Sharon and says she could have chimed in. She insists that going down the mountain is dangerous. Sharon admits that she agrees with Nick. Something needs to be done. Phyllis Sharon Y&R. Phyllis and Billy put their heads together. Standing alone by the maze bar, Billy pours himself a drink and recalls telling Jack that their father would be proud of him and his new venture. That meant everything to Billy. It was all he ever wanted, and his brother regretted ever doubting he had it. Billy snaps out of it and toasts to making himself proud, whether with or without his brother. Phyllis appears and comments that he looks as bad as she feels. More, is Kelly Ripa leaving? Phyllis inspects the booze and hopes it is safe for public use. She drinks a glass and takes a seat. Billy paces and complains about his trust problems with his brother. Phyllis tells him that no one appreciates him going after Chancellor since he never completes projects and is easily distracted. He was fortunate to have his brother support him, but he considered it as a side hustle. Billy claims he experienced a vision. Phyllis can see it. She also understands that he is quite skilled at persuading people to believe in his ideas. Until they don't like my choices, he finishes. When Phyllis says that pity doesn't look good on him, Billy says that no one trusts him because he thinks too big for everyone around him. Billy Phyllis Y&R. Phyllis warns Billy that everyone in Genoa City, including him, has treated her as if she was dirt. But she always falls on her feet. She had hoped to work with Kane in the future, but it appears that he is facing murder charges. She's certain that Nick and Lily are determined to blame him. This vacation is a disaster. It cannot get any worse, she says. Billy thinks she doesn't usually sound so downtrodden. They agree that Kane is innocent, and she wonders if they should simply get drunk. He emphasizes that they need a plan, not a drink. She wants a job, but he wants Chancellor back. They both rely on Kane to get things done. Phyllis advises that they work together to find a way to get Ashby off the hook. More, Amelia Heinley's unexpected pick for Vicky's future love. Nick receives unwelcome visitors. Nick heads to his sleeping car to prepare for his descent from the mountain. Sharon arrives and announces that she will accompany him. He is concerned about the danger, but she believes there is safety in numbers. They both hope that everything could be normal. For the past few months, it's been one calamity after another. Sharon can't bear thinking about it, so she just focuses on what's in front of her. Right now, that will lead to the cops. Sharon Nick Y&R. More, is Damien actually dead? There is a knock on the door. Sharon hides in a corner. When Nick opens the door, Carter stands there with a goon. Carter claims his boss believes his life is in danger, and Nick's threats are concerning. Nick is being placed under house arrest to ensure his protection. This makes Nick furious. Carter notices that he appears to be planning an escape before the authorities come. When Nick yells at them to get out of the way, Carter warns that he may have to instruct the guard to draw his weapon. Sharon approaches Carter, who informs her that she must accompany them. When they object, Carter responds that neither of them has a choice. Kyle's vengeful plot, and Kane's desperate panic. Young and restless spoilers, Billy and Jack cannot agree. Monday, July 21st, Billy and Jack Abbott are arguing over Abbott.com. Jack accuses Billy of blindsiding him by appointing Sally Spectre CEO. Billy wants Chancellor back at all costs, and Jack is concerned that Billy is making unsafe decisions. Working with Kane, who could be a murderer, is simply a gamble. Jack is upset that Billy intends to fight Jill Abbott and Victor Newman using Kane. Billy flips and threatens to have Kane buy Jack out of Abbott.com, despite the fact that he has never discussed this with Kane Ashby. Kyle informs Audra that he won. He is aware of her attempt to divorce him and Claire Grace Newman and intends to inform Victor Newman that she failed. Kyle loves Claire and would never betray her, so they misjudged him. Kyle effectively implies that Audra is a hooker who sells herself for financial dollars. Kyle believes she would have gotten steamy with him if he hadn't stopped, and he plans to tell her boyfriend Nate Hastings. Young and restless spoilers, Nick and Phyllis spar. Nick Newman informs Phyllis Summers that Kane was filming them all, but the footage of Damien Kane's murder has mysteriously vanished. Nick is certain that Kane is guilty. Phyllis doubts it. Sharon Newman sides with Nick, believing Kane is trying to set him up. And he claims Phileas is both helping and betraying Kane. Phyllis, on the other hand, remains calm in the face of Nick's wrath and anger, urging him to examine the possibility that someone is framing him and Kane. But Nick storms out with a bang. Sharon follows as Nick declares that he is sick with it all and intends to climb down to get the actual cops. Carter brings an armed guard to Nick's room and informs him that he is under house arrest for threatening Kane and must be detained for the guest's safety. Nick becomes further agitated and lashes out at Carter, who threatens to have the guard use a weapon on Nick if he does not calm down. Sharon is also on their radar. Phyllis and Billy discuss their Nick and Jack difficulties. Billy and Phyllis agree to collaborate because she needs a job and Billy wants Chancellor, so they both need Kane's assistance. Phyllis and Billy agree to join forces to prove Kane's innocence. Spoilers for Young and Restless reveal intense corporate battles and suspenseful drama. On Tuesday, July 22nd, Nikki Newman issues Kane a warning. She may tell him that he will never beat Victor. But Nikki may also warn Kane that if he pursues Chancellor or attempts to implicate her son Nick, he will be deeply regretful. Sharon and Nick are in danger. This could be due to Carter and his security guard at the door, as Nick refuses to comply, and Carter has warned Sharon. It could also be something else, as there is a killer on the loose in the maze who murdered Damien and is now keeping an eye on the other guests. Sharon and Nick may be on the killer's radar based on what happens later this week. Victor won't let Audra back out of their pact. Kyle realized what was going on, but Victor is unconcerned when Audra comes to tell him. And Victor's stance is, look, if you don't break up Kyle and Claire, you won't get a penny more from me because that was the deal, and you can't launch Vibrante. Of course, she is really upset. She's worried about losing Nate, the company, and everything. She's correct to be concerned. Young and Restless spoilers, Kane and Amanda suspect each other. On Wednesday, July 23rd, Kane and Amanda Sinclair begin to distrust each other's loyalty and conduct. They are in the security room, which has all of the video feeds. Amanda wonders if Kane is erasing evidence, such as security footage from Damien's murder. Meanwhile, Kane speculates that Amanda may have been involved. Carter also has access. So, they have to wonder if he could be the perp. So Kane is determined to find the missing footage, which he claims would prove his innocence. Kyle tells Nikki about the contract Victor and Audra made to end his and Claire's relationship. So, of course, Nikki is going to be upset with Victor and Audra for pulling a prank that Victor knows would harm Claire. However, I'm sure Victor will try to excuse that he was saving Claire from worse misery in the long run because he believes Kyle would have hurt her regardless. He was only going toward the inevitable. He'll find a way to justify what he did. And Nikki typically supports him, so we'll see if she actually stands firm. Lily Winters will not back down from Phyllis. They're on opposite sides since Lily believes Kane killed Damien, while Phyllis defends Kane. Suspense builds with missing evidence and dangerous alliances in the Young and the Restless. On Thursday, July 24th, Billy forces Jack to make a difficult decision, and he may take Abbott away from Billy. He can do this by withdrawing all financing. And if Jack leaves and the company fails, Kane will very certainly be unable to buy him out. For example, Billy may be forced to start from scratch, which he has no motivation to do because he has lost interest in Abbott. We all know he did. Nick is attempting to escape the Shadowgrounds, and his scheme goes awry. He seems bloodied, and he ends up with a wound in his side. And the question is, did he just fall and hurt himself, or did the killer come from him and miss, resulting in a non-fatal wound? Victor and Chancellor interview Carter, their assistant. They assume he is involved in the events unfolding at the chateau. Chance and Victor corner Carter in the club car and ask him questions. Victor demands to know if Carter knew Kane was planning to murder Damien and was covering it up. And Carter categorically rejects all of it. Young and Restless spoilers, Nick is bloody and wounded. On Friday, July 25th, Billy is with Nick, Sally, and Sharon. And Billy and Sally are teaming up to help Nick, who is bleeding and hurt. They appear to be in a storage car. I'm not sure if they were holed up in there or if they sought sanctuary and locked themselves in because things were dangerous. Someone confronts Nikki on the Young and the Restless. It could be Kyle, Audra, or the killer whose identity is unknown. Victor, meantime, decides to take matters into his own hands and put an end to what is happening. This week, Audra and Lily become afraid while in the maze because someone is observing them. Spoilers for July's Young and Restless reveal high-stakes drama and emotional turmoil. Billy will be dealing with the consequences of Jack's decision from July 28th to August 1st. If Billy loses Abbott, he may not care, but Sally will be furious because she gave up her Marchetti position to gamble on Billy. This could jeopardize their relationship. I'm sure Sally will be upset, and Billy may offer that she join him on the Victor revenge ride to take over Chancellor. But I don't think Sally wants that. Kyle weighs his alternatives. He will want to tell Claire about Victor's deal with Audra. But Nikki might persuade him to reconsider. Also, Kyle's decision may alter if he returns and discovers that Claire's father, Cole, has died, and she is crying because he was not there for her. He may not want to hurt her anymore. He might keep it in his back pocket for a minute. Young and restless spoilers, Audra is in big trouble. Audra is panicked. She received a double whammy. Unless a miracle occurs, she will not receive the Vibrante money from Victor. Kyle intends to tell Nate that she attempted to seduce him and used Damien's death as an excuse. I mean, Nate's brother. That won't go over well. Lily is seized with fear. She dreads going home and telling Amy Lewis and Nate that Damien was murdered. Phyllis and Billy continue to conspire. And the question is, how far will they go to save Kane?